Yes, with the New York, I look for a bridge in here where we meet years ago, and we did always want to talk to him because we think it's a very important voice, this chemetic understanding, chemetic knowledge. And now that we're there, so we think it's very important that we find him. We have to find him because, trust me man, anytime him talk, you gotta understand what we are talking about. You call it Egypt, we call it Kemet, original name. So, yeah, I think it's inside us, so I'm there, yeah, inside us. So. The street, alright, yes. Kemetic. Pata, this is which part we are going. This is which part we are going. Yeah, well, we are here in the house of Pata. I must say, this is a brethren that I'm trying to link up with for years after meeting him in Kingston, having him on my radio program. Wanted to really get in contact with him again, and this is the opportunity now. This is a man who has spent his life in the chemetic consciousness, the chemetic way, and for those of you who don't know what chemet is, trust me, you're going to know after we done talk tonight. We're talking to Baba Pata. Pata. I don't have
I got so many names, but Heru Ankh Ra Samaj Sepeta. A lot of people call
me. No, I have to say it to you. Heru Ankh Ra Samaj
Sepeta.
Sepeta.
Sepeta is a title that I got after 30 years in the craft of making the sacred joyery. You know what they call jewelry now?
Yeah.
And because in the ancient days, the craftsman and the craftswoman were all dedicated to Pata. That's the creative principle.
Okay.
You see?
Okay. And you have spent all your life, or most of your life, into this.
Precisely.
This way. Why?
Well, when I was a boy, my father told me that I had a special mission, a special reason for being born. Mm. And he was a Christian minister who was a follower of Marcus Garvey. Mm-hmm. And he said that he knew some things about our history as an African people that if he started to talk about it in the church, they'll throw him out.
Okay.
So he told me that I must study everything I can about the Nile Valley culture, mm-hmm. and when I grow up, I must teach it to the people. So he gave me a password. He said, remember this word, Tut Ankh Amen.
Okay, the great.
And when I heard that,
hero.
When I heard that name, I started to tremble. I must have been about 7 to 8 years old when he told me that. And so from that time to this time, I've been following the thread of that name to reveal the glory of the ancient Africans of the Nile.
And they found his tomb in the pyramids.
In 1922, my father at the time, he was 18 years old. Mm-hmm. And of course, they blew a trumpet that they found in his tomb, and it was heard around the world. They blew it over the BBC radio. And he was very impressed by this. And he say, and Marcus Garvey himself said that we come from the Nile, from something great which we must resurrect.
Yeah.
That was a quote from Marcus Garvey. But of course, during his time, I guess they couldn't go too much into that because our people were not ready
for that
to deal with it.
All right, we can ask you a question. We could say Tut, right?
Yes.
If Tut was such a young pharaoh, we call him pharaoh, why is he so important to the whole Kemetic region?
Well, because his resting place is the one that was found virtually intact. There is more history found in his tomb to be able to connect many things historically, that you don't find in any of the other tombs.
Like for instance,
you would see that they have life-size statues of him, pictures of him that show what he looked like in real life. And later on in the program, I'm going to show you how modern-day cultural pirates are trying to deny that he was an African.
Okay, yeah, but they usually say that Egypt is not in Africa. That's what they say.
Well, as a matter of fact, they are right in this way.
Yeah.
Egypt is a foreign word.
Yes, yeah, that's what the
Kemet,
invaders gave it.
That's what the invaders gave it. The Greeks call it Aiguputus because they could not pronounce the name of a town in the delta known as Het Ka Ptah, or House of the Soul of Ptah.
Yeah.
So Het Ka Ptah became Aiguputus to the Greeks, and later it was bastardized in English as Egypt.
Okay.
But the essential consonants of the sound still remain. You see, Kapata, Jipit.
Yeah,
you see, but we say, well, they tried to jip us.
Yeah. So what's the meaning of Kemet?
Kemet means the black land.
The black land.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Kemet knew the black land, black for the soil and the people. Of course, they like to deny that the people had the same color as the soil,
yes.
but it refers to the black land. Another name for the land was Tameri, which means the twice beloved land. You see, and that was the northeastern section of the whole nation known as Smai Arwi, the united two lands, upper and lower. So they say modern day, they say upper and lower Egypt.
Yes.
But no, it's what we call Kenset with Kemet. Kenset is what they call Nubia.
Yes.
Kenset, Kush, and Kemet. The 3 Ks.
Yes.
That's the real KKK.
Serious thing, yeah.
You know,
KKK.
yeah. Kemet, what they now call Egypt. Kenset, which is now called Nubia or Sudan.
And Kush.
And Kush, which is the proper name for the place now called Ethiopia in the Greek vernacular, and Abyssinia in the Roman vernacular. But the proper name is Kush. And that appears in the Bible as one of the children of Ham. Of course, King James called us Ham, because we are Hamites, which means they align us with the pig.
Pig. I'd say that we ugly. We have to kind of get racist.
True.
All right. I want you to tell the people them about the different symbols in the Kemetic. Because what happened is that, because we're coming from a Judeo-Christian mindset, a lot of these Kemetic symbols is seen as demonized, is demonized by these Christian mindset. I remember when I had a shop, I used to sell the Ankh, and a sister was wearing an Ankh, and she called me and tell me, say, our boss fire, because she was wearing this symbol around her neck. And to the Christian mindset, and most thing that is Kemetic, they see it as something evil, hedonistic. So we could start out with this symbol, because the people them seen having this in their hand might be wondering what it is all about. Explain to Jamaican people what them seen here.
Well, first of all, this is a word in our ancient language. So when they say symbol, people get scared. This is a word which represents life eternal, everlasting, and self-generating. This here is the womb of the woman. You see, in our legacy, we say, in the beginning was the womb. They say in the beginning was a word, but we say the word came from the one who came out of the womb.
Of course.
So African culture always gives the woman that place of honor. These are the children. The crossbars are the children, our extensions from us. They go where we say go, do what we say do, or supposed to. This here is the man, which shows the responsibility of the man to uphold the children and the whole family. Now they're joined together here at this matrix here to show unity of the family. It also symbolizes the spirit, mind, and matter. It also symbolizes the water that rises up to the clouds, precipitating back on the earth as rain to bring the seed of new life out of the ground. However you look at Ankh, it means life eternal and everlasting. Now, the earlier Christians who had their beginnings in Kush, now called Ethiopia, they adopted the Ankh as the symbol of early Christianity. Because being African, they're always going to give honor to the mother. However, when Rome, which is a patriarchal order, took over Christianity in order to control it, they removed the sacred womb of the woman. Of course, they pay lip service to her as Mary.
Well, it's like, let's say the mirror is in the Trinity, it's the ghost now.
Mary,
the woman become the
woman
ghost.
become the ghost. But you see, in our culture, you have Ast, who's the mother, Asar, the father, and Heru, the holy child. You have a holy mother, holy child, holy father. That's balance. How come the woman becomes a ghost?
Yeah, we always ask
see?
that question.
Well, of course, because you see, in the patriarchal systems, the woman is always put down.
Yes.
You know, they just give her lip service, but they do not exalt her. But African culture is matrilineal and matrifocal. The mother does matter.
Of course.
And if you have a system of belief that does not include the mother, you're going to have what we have today.
Problem.
The problem we have today.
All right. We usually say in the Kemetic
Yes.
symbolism, for instance, on the wall here, you see animal head
Right.
and human body. To the Christian mind, that is really a no-no.
Oh,
Because
yes.
when you don't understand something, you get blissful in your ignorance.
True,
You know,
indeed.
Europeans still say ignorance is bliss.
Right,
I don't really
right,
agree with that still. Ignorance
knowledge,
is still,
knowledge is bliss.
Yeah, ignorance is stupidity. You know,
Precisely.
So, all right. Explain to the people the different ideas surrounding the Kemetic understanding of animal head,
Yes.
human body.
Very simple. Africans, in order to tell a story, and first people everywhere, Native Americans, Eskimos, they all put on masks in order to convey an idea of nature. So because the falcon is the highest flying bird, because the falcon has the keenest vision, they'll be able to look into the sun without blinking. The early Africans of the Nile adopted the falcon as the totem of the kings, known as Heru, which means the lofty one, the exalted one, you see? And so the king sits down on the throne and puts on the mask of the falcon. It doesn't mean you were worshipping the animal, but look, in the Christian faith, they say, go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider his ways and be wise. And likewise say, be ye wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So we see in the Christian faith, we use doves, we use snakes, serpents is wise, and Moses held up a serpent in the wilderness, and who looked upon it was healed. And then the ants will teach you something about industry and about building and about architecture. So how come when the Christian do it, it's all right, but when the African do it, it's pagan and animal
and it was
worship?
the first doing. The Africans were the first.
We were the first to use animals.
So in other words, now these symbols is showing that there are certain attributes of animals that is found in the human being. The human being have certain attributes that can be found in the animals, and the animals have certain attributes that can be found in the human being.
True.
So it's very important to study the animals.
That's why we say he's strong as a bull. Or he's as brave as a lion. Or he's as sly as a fox.
Yes.
We use these analogies. And in the martial arts, we go into various animal forms when we do our fighting.
Of course.
The crane, you know, and so on.
Ironically, the Africans use the head as the animal and the body as the humans. When you look at Greek mythology, they use the head as the human and the body
as the animal.
If you look at the Capricorn. Yeah, we're there again. We're going into the Kemetic understanding that might be kind of heavy for some, but yet still kind of really edifying for some. And this is what the program is all about. All right, we was talking about the life word.
Yes.
And then we went on to the animal heads. All right. Explain to me some of the meaning of the heads, what it represents and symbolizes.
Well, for instance, you have the hippopotamus, which represents the great mother principle, and then we have the scarab, the beetle.
Okay, because that is something that a lot of people wear to and jewelry.
People say, what are you doing with that bug?
The bug.
Yeah. Well, the scarab lays its egg in dung, and it rolls this dung ball wherever it goes, and the larva of the baby beetles are nourishing itself from the dung. So there is life in the refuse. Which wasn't refuse, there's life to the beetle.
Yeah.
And so when it became later on the symbol of coming into being, of transformation and resurrection. So the ancient ancestors used to put the scarab, either a silver one or gold, over the heart of the sahu, which is now miscalled mummy, to ensure that that person will come into resurrection. When Christianity started, they used to refer to Jesus as the good scarab,
Okay.
Because Jesus was symbolic of the resurrection principle.
Yeah.
You see, so the early Christians understood these things because they were educated in Kemet, like most of the prophets.
Because maybe it was nearer to
precisely
to them at that time. Now it gone went to King James now and Europe, so it get further.
Yeah, well, you see what happened. We have now religion based upon hatred of the very people who assisted the prophets to get what they got.
Yeah.
Without Kemet, Abraham and Sarah would have starved. Because when their God told them to go to a land I will show you overflowing with milk and honey, well, God must have been asleep at the time because there was no milk and no honey in Canaan.
Yeah.
Where did they come? They came down into the bread basket of the then known world,
Kemet.
Nile Valley, into Kemet, or what they call Egypt now, to Egypt. And then we fed them and they went out richer than they came in.
Yes.
Now let's go to Moses.
And they even include a woman, a Kemetic woman there as the first son.
Yes, Ishmael was born of the first son of Abraham.
Yes.
And later we hear that Sarah came out.
Run a road.
Yeah. Later on, Sarah, she came out of what they call her menopause, and she had a baby.
About 90 years old.
97 years old. What a wonderful miracle! No miracle don't happen no more. Eh? All of a sudden, the miracle shut down.
Shut down, totally.
So then, Yeshua, who they now miscall Jesus in the Latin word, Yeshua. His mother brings him down into Kemet to fulfill prophecy. Out of Egypt have I called my son. And again, he was rescued there from the barbarity of Herod when they were trying to kill the firstborn, right? According to the story.
Just like in Moses' time, they were trying to kill the firstborn.
Precisely. Now here, the prophet Muhammad, he sent his disciples into the emperor of Nagusti of Kush, Ethiopia, to be spared from his own tribesmen, the Quraysh of Mecca. So we see all these major patriarchal religions benefited from contact with the Africans of the Nile, but now all you hear is total vilification and total degradation of these people who made it possible for these prophets to get what they got. And now we have been taught to hate the very source of the knowledge. And yet the Bible say, honor your mother and your father, your days may be long on the earth. But now we're honoring our uncle Shem and Japheth. We threw away what they call Ham. You know, when Ham is the one who saw the complete revelation. Because they say Noah they say was naked, right? And they say Ham come in and see the nakedness and told his two brothers without. And his two brothers took a sheet, covered it upon both their shoulders, and walked backward and turned their faces. They volunteered to be triply blind and not to see the revelation of the great father Noah. But the one who saw it, then he got all the wisdom. So now, here are we being led by those who were blind, who saw nothing, but the one who saw it all, now he's defamed as a heathen and a pagan and an animal worshiper. You see, our African people have got to understand or understand that we have been duped, bamboozled, and these usurpers have told lies and have built religions based upon hatred of the very people who taught their prophets.
Yeah, definitely. One of the symbols I want to explain is the symbol of the Mahat.
Okay.
With this female with the feather.
Yes.
In her head. Explain that.
Ma'at is the sacred order upon which the universe was constructed. It symbolizes balance, order, harmony, reciprocity, propriety, and sobriety. Ma'at is law. And all of the defenders, the judges, and the advocates used a symbol of Ma'at on their lapels or whatever during the procedures of conducting law. People say, what is your religion? I say, well, I don't have a religion, I have a spiritual way of life. And it's based upon Ma'at, it's based upon balance. Within our own bodies, we have Ma'at is established between the acid and the alkaline. Since we live in a culture that predominates acidity, where we are eating so much flesh and so much sugar and so much dairy products and so on, these create acidity in the body, which then defeats the alkalinity of the body. So it destroys the balance and creates dis-ease. So then we become out of ma'at. When we indulge in hatred, when we indulge in jealousy and envy, those are things that we call in our legacy is fit. Is fit makes you a misfit because it's against ma'at. So it was a spiritual culture based upon righteousness, order, truth. It was based upon ma'at. And the ostrich feather, a very large feather but it's very light. The idea is that the woman, the feminine principle, became the symbol of that law of ma'at because of its delicacy and the possibility of going against the law. So the idea was to keep your heart as light as a feather. And that's what it symbolizes. My brother Pa'u, he wrote the song, "Keep your heart light as a feather. Never let anger rule, never let depression rule, cause it will only bring regret. Keep your heart center light, keep your heart center light as Ma'at's feather." You see? So those of us who are now reclaiming this culture, we uphold Ma'at. And that's what Martin Luther King was doing. That's what Sojourner Truth was doing, trying to teach people who were acting in a barbaric fashion about
forward
Ma'at.
to the Mahat.
We see even the brother who did the movie Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee. He was speaking of Ma'at, but of course nobody teaches us this in our legacy. People want us to believe that they were the ones who brought us morality when we taught them everything about morality. We had 42 laws or 42 oracles of Ma'at. It was from those 42 that Moses took 7 of the 10 of the Mosaic Decalogue. You see in that silly movie they made in Hollywood, they call it so-called 10 Commandments, where we see the hand coming out of the sky writing on a piece of stone. That's nonsense.
Yeah. All right, explain the 42. Just go down it quickly. That's
It says, "Not have I done wrong, not have I stolen." In other words, instead of some command coming from outside of yourself,
so thou shalt not.
Thou shalt not.
You internalize it.
It was internalized, and therefore we had a society without policemen because the people were living according to Ma'at.
And taking responsibility for them actions.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Do not do murder. You know, now we have Martin Luther, the Protestant reformer, saying you can commit 1,000 murders and as many rapes, but if you just believe, you'll be ushered into the kingdom. That's nonsense. You see, they created grace in order to circumvent Ma'at.
Yes,
You see, but Lady Grace has got to bow to Lady Ma'at because Ma'at was first.
There's this idea in the Mahat where there's a scale, right? And it is said that in order to balance the negativity, you put the negativity in one side of the scale and you put the feather, the ostrich feather, in one. And if it is not balanced, all right, explain that.
Okay, the scale symbolizes the balance of the heart against the feather of truth. The heart symbolizes your will. It symbolizes your intention, you see? So the heart would be weighed against the feather.
Okay.
So in our legacy, every day is judgment day.
Okay.
Because you're supposed to conduct yourself according to righteousness every day. Not just wait until you die.
Sunday. I wait till Sunday.
Yeah, and wait till Sunday and wait till you die and have the priest rush and do the last rites and you're going to be ushered into the pearly gates. Oh no. In the iconography of our ancient ancestors, you will see Ma'at with her wings spread out like this.
Okay, that's where they get the angel symbol.
That's where they get the idea of angel with wings from the temple walls. Ast and her sister Nebuchadnezzar, who the Egyptologists call Isis and Nephthys, they also have wings. And you can see them on King Tut's burial place. You can see the wings of these angels with wings. You see, that's where they got the whole idea from. And I think in the book of Isaiah, or is it Jeremiah, it said, "Lo to the land shadowed with wings." The land shadowed with wings is Kemet, because every temple had the wings of Herubehutet, the falcon with the Ra symbol, the symbol of the sun, above the doorways of the temple. And the idea was that the symbol of Ra, Herubehutet, was a defense of the temple, spiritual defense to keep away all negative energies from entering the temple. So wings was a very important part of our culture because it symbolizes spiritual ascension to higher consciousness, you see? And that is where they got these idea of angels with wings. But, you know, it's a funny thing because whenever I lecture anywhere in the world, I say, In your patriarchal religions, tell me the name of one female angel. Every time I say that, you can hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
They can't.
All of them is male.
Every one of them is male, so we understand what's happening today.
Yes.
Because I don't want to go to heaven with a whole bunch of males.
The idea of the all male angels in the patriarchal religious belief, including the idea of the Islam where a man die in the name of martyrdom and he goes into heaven and gets 72 virgins. I remember interviewing a Muslim and he was saying that, yeah, they get 72 virgins. I was asking him, so if a woman tie on a bump on her and go up there, how much man she going to get up there? You know, so you can see the discrepancy in the idea, the male ego pushing out itself in this patriarchal mindset. And when we listen to what I say and listen and knowing what we know about the balance that is necessary, we lose that.
Well, you see, in ancient Kemet, if you have, we call them the Neteru, whether they're called angel and Christian, we call them Neteru. And there were always, wherever there's a female, there's a male.
Of course.
You have Amen-Ra, you have Mut. You have Ast, or Isis as they call her in the Greek vernacular. You have Asar, who they call Osiris. You have Ptah, you have Sekhmet. You see, everything is balanced in the ancient African culture.
Of course.
Now here, you got Gabriel, but he ain't got no Gabriella. You got Michael, he ain't got no Michaela. You got Lucifer, he ain't got no Lucifera.
Yeah.
So all of these men...
And you have God, you don't have no goddess.
God ain't got no goddess.
Yeah.
So you have all these men running a totally male heaven. No wonder it's so unbalanced on earth. And that's at the very crux of the imbalance in the relationship between women and men on earth. Because if man does not see divinity in his woman, then he's going to treat her like a dog.
Of course.
But if you see that the female is as divine as you are, then it's divinity to divinity.
Of course.
That you have to do away. The age of the matriarchy is past. The age of the patriarchy is fast coming to a close. Now we are going to see matriarchy, a restoration of balance between the feminine and masculine principles on all levels. We're seeing it in the government now. You see the ascension of the female rising, because of course man has always believed that he controlled things, but he was tricked in believing that. But now she can come from behind the bush and truly assume her role in balance, and she don't have to hide.
In Jamaica, the majority of students at the University of the West Indies is female, and most of the educated is female. So this is the word that have a whole heap of people in problem. This word,
Ankh.
The Ankh, A-N-K-H, Ankh, life, as you hear the man explain. Female, womb, the doorway to heaven.
That's right.
Children, male, almost like a phallic symbol too.
Yes.
Penis.
Yes.
Yes. Putting everything together, you get the balance. We lose that balance. We need to return to the balance. We need to recognize the feminine in the divinity. We get lost in Judeo-Christian and Islam mindset. Why you have the root and you go on the branch? We could go to the root, and this is the root.
Yes, indeed.
This is the root.
And you see, after going to all the lectures, reading all the books of this culture, we say, well, it's not just to feel good about how great our ancestors were. We are great now. We have to reawaken our ancestral and hereditary memory. All of these memories are encoded in our cellular structure, in our DNA. And if we truly desire to resurrect these concepts, All we have to do is live it. Enough of the speeches, enough of the books. Let's begin to apply the principles that we have found to be true right now in our lives. Let us reclaim Ma'at again. Let us be righteous to each other. There's too much crime among us. We are in disobedience to our own standards as people of African ascent. Because we do not know, they will not teach us about Ma'at in the school. Oh, they will show you the pyramids and the mask, the golden mask of King Tut.
But they don't even tell you it's African neither.
Of course not. Because, of course, they say Egypt is not in Africa. But last time I looked, it was still there on the continent. They say now it's in the so-called Middle East. What's the middle of what? It's right there on the continent, and it was fed. As a matter of fact, the ancient kings, the Nsut, who they now call Pharaoh. By the way, Pharaoh comes from a mispronunciation of the word which means the great house. Just like in the United States, you refer to the president as the White House. You know who's talking. So the great house, the Pere, and that title was used only mostly during the Greek time, the Greek phase, which now Pere becomes Pharaoh. You can go up and down the Nile and you will not find the word Pharaoh written in the original language.
Of course not.
You can go up and down the Nile and you will not find the word Egypt on any stone, on any temple, on any stela. Nowhere you will find this word Egypt. You will find Tameri, you will find Smaitawi, you will find Mekimet, you will find Kenset, you will find Cush or Cash, but you will never find Egypt. You will never find Pharaoh. So all these foreign terms, you see what happens, foreigners come into the land and they give things names. By giving it names, they now claim it as theirs. Like all the papyri that they have stolen that's in the various museums, you got the Smith papyri, the Ebers papyri, all of these different names of foreigners who found these things, they put their names on them, now they own them. And now they have titled this whole history of ancient African high culture, which belongs to the world. Africa is the mother of all creation, so therefore her children gave these divine signs, this divine spiritual science to the whole world. You don't have to steal it. You don't have to engage in cultural piracy like Mr. Zawi Hawass now. They have these forensic experts, what they call forensic experts, making a bust of King Tut when we have the actual way that he looked in real life here. They have created this made out of plastic over here. And look at the shade of his skin. This is cultural piracy at its worst. Now, let's go talk about Ptah. Here is Ptah, from who they got the Oscar.
I've been hearing that for years now, that the symbol of the Oscar was taken from
Precisely
this symbol here, and without a doubt, it's how it stand. You can recognize that it is.
You can find that in the book by Tony Browder.
Yes.
Tony Browder's book, Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. You will see that brother has done a masterful job of showing what was stolen. Here is King Tut, the way he looked in real life. Okay, you see.
This is what they took out of the
his resting place. This bust and this one here was done by people who were alive at the time who made these images of the boy. Now here these forensic experts come with this to try to steal the glory of the ancient African culture from the African people.
Well, they always do that still.
But it's a shame because, you see, they keep us in ignorance so we can fill up their jails. Because if we're not inspired to have knowledge of who we were, then we will always believe the lies that tell us about ourselves, so much that we have this self-hatred now we're bleaching our skin. You see in Africa, women are walking around with pink hands and pink face, and the rest of their body is dark brown and black. By the way, I don't like the word black, you know, because the word black has the term lack inside of it. I brown, because in brown you have own, O-W-N. You see?
All right, there's a next story. That's a next story.
That's the next story.
All right, but you know, the usurping of these ideas from them time has caused us as African people to really go down. And there is a need to reclaim all of this. But in the reclaiming, there's hardly anyone that is really bringing it to light. Yes, you have so much people who know the truth.
Yes.
What do you think is the easiest way, possibly, that can allow these information to get out there?
Well, like what you're doing right now. It takes courage for you to rise up in the heart of Rasta, who actually use the King James Version as their
Judeo-Christian
Bible.
mindset, yeah.
It takes courage to do this. I always tell people, bringing this is more dangerous than being Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or any of that. You know why? Because all of those brothers, the great work that they did, they were still trapped in Abraham's house. They did not yet come to the house of Cam, which made Abraham possible, which fed him.
Yes,
you see? So even Marcus Garvey, he tried his best and he did a great work. But again, because the effort is not based upon African spirituality, it tends to fail every time, because the ancestors who are ever living will not bless us until we go into the groove of our ancient ancestral paradigm, our ancient foundation. When we tap into that, then we will get the blessings of the ancient ancestors. We'll get the blessings of the Most High. You see, but unless it's like we are trying to be clones of a clone.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's because of the information that has been presented at the time. So you can only go as far as the information allow you to go. So the earlier brethren them who fought, the information at the time was that. So what it is incumbent on us now.
Yes.
Who is here now, who gather more information.
Yes.
Because, we have like internet, YouTube, all of these things that is spreading information that we don't really have to go now into some specifically European mind, because we have man like Ben Buchanan.
Yes, Dr. Ben. Yes.
As you say, you have Anthony Broder, you have, a whole heap of scholars that is African.
Theophilo Obenga.
Yeah.
Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop.
Sheikh Anta Diop,
yes,
which is very important as a Senegalese scholar that has drawn so a whole heap of things out of the pyramids and make it come to light,
Yes, but you see now we are suffering from information indigestion. We read, we gobble like Pac-Man, but we don't put into practice that which we are internalizing, which our eyes are telling us is true. We make a lot of money making lectures about our greatness, but the effort to try to reclaim this culture and
make
relive
it become
it
us.
and build it alive, to me, I say, well, I now have some of this knowledge. So how am I going to show that I own this culture? Through the crafts. Only can I show that I own it. Because what is preserved in the museums? It's the art.
Of course.
The art that lives on, that the people created, gives you a window into their lives.
To the culture,
So if you say, so I say to my European friends, I say, look, you say you were the ancient Egyptian. Let me see that you have an understanding or understanding of the sacred art. I don't see you doing it. I look at your jewelry up and down and I see a lot of gold, I see a lot of diamond, but I see no meaning. I see no significance. If this was your culture, it would have significance.
Of course. And every African cultural expression that is defining the art have a very important, whether spiritual or social or political meaning. And that is what is lacking in European art most of the times.
People ask me, why you wear all this?
Forward. Yeah, we're coming forward to this reasoning here, in the last lap. This look like that take a 10 program to seal it up, but we don't say that European art is almost abstract, where we find that in indigenous people, we're not talking about just African people now, we're talking about most indigenous people. There's no abstract art that is there, because all of it is usable, it's functional.
Yes.
Like I just said now, the jewelry that you make, it's functional.
Yes.
If you look on even a spoon, if you go into certain African culture, even the spoon where they might eat with, have an artistic carving on it that is symbolic to the nation that is producing it.
Precisely.
You know, we don't see that in a European art form.
The people say, oh, you're a jeweler? I say no. I'm a creator of emblems of culture and
You
spirituality.
left the jewelry to the Jews.
I say I wear these are wearable meditations on positive principles.
That's why you don't get them back.
Each one of them I put on is like a prayer of a positive utterance.
Yes.
And it shows loyalty to my source, so
Of
that
course.
I honor my mother and my father, because I want my days to be long.
Long on the land,
earth.
yes.
But I don't want them to be long, because some people just get old but never get wise.
No use. I have no
You see?
use.
Precisely.
Yeah.
I want to be helpful to those that come after. I have great grandchildren, so I want them to know this legacy. So when I leave this plane and they dig up my art about 3,000 years, they say, "Oh my gosh, these people found out who they were."
Yes, of
You know,
course.
because they will see that we have continued the legacy through the art.
Art.
That's the only way we can speak to the future.
Well, I tell you, brethren, you see these artwork here that you do in silver here, if I did not know you made it, I would think that it was made in Kemet. Because there's no difference between what I'm wearing here, which comes from Kemet, and this ring, which is Kemetic. There's no difference. And I'm looking on what you have on your hand and your neck, and there's nowhere somebody can say it is not original Kemetic.
I tell people, go on the internet. Go to the studiopatah.com, PTAH.com, and you will see, check out my works, and go all over the world in the various .com and see if you see anything that compares to the work that I do.
Yeah.
Because I am committed to this with my whole life.
I can see that, brethren. I can see that. Trust
And
me.
I've been consistent in all these years.
Yes.
Because I want to be faithful to my ancient ancestors, and I want our young people to get this, because we are creating fodder for destruction. They're building jails for us.
Of course.
Because to them, it's better to put us in jail than to give us the knowledge. It costs more to keep a man in jail than to educate him. But you see, these folks don't want any competition for their fair-haired children. So they want to keep us in ignorance. Right here in New York City, the schools are run by people who do not have our best interest at heart.
Yes.
You see, so I say we must, and listen, I am not what they call anti-Semitic. I don't believe in that, because people say, well, what's the difference between the Jews and the blacks? I said, the Jews, they read all the time. Every time I see them walking, they got a book in their hand. Instead of hating them, I would say, let's imitate what they do. Let's read.
Yeah, well,
let's
Marcus
get knowledge.
Garvey used to say that. Marcus Garvey used to say, study. Even Marcus, that is why Marcus Garvey went and meet the grandmaster and the Ku Klux Klan. Because he must say, this is some people who know what them is all about. You know, and Marcus Garvey say, look here, the Jews them know about something. Why we can't look upon them and recognize that what they are doing is good for them. And there's
Precisely.
something that we're not doing that them is doing.
Right.
That we should be doing.
You see, we rely on people and we complain that they're not teaching us about ourselves. That's nonsense. It's our responsibility.
Of course.
Because, you see, they take off the chains from our hands and our feet, but the chain is on our mind.
yeah.
And so now, look what has happened. Some of our own brothers and sisters in Africa, they helped to put us on board the ships to bring us over here. Now we are going back there as missionaries to chain up their souls.
Yeah, with the Christianity.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So we are returning the favor. The only thing is more dangerous now, because the souls are being enslaved.
of course.
And when your soul is enslaved, you are finished.
You can't lick out no
There's
chain.
no way you can come back.
You're like a zombie.
Precisely.
You have been resurrected in the zombie farm, man.
You better believe.
We in Jamaica, it's not that the people them don't want to hear something different. It's just that it is not given to them. Yeah. So the foolishness come at us so much that we start to accept the stupidity. They say ignorance is bliss. Yeah. That is really what them teach you now. Ignorance is so much bliss now that there's so much ignorance that they know that it gets so blissful, so we live out the bliss. So we need really to reclaim that vibration, and those who know, it's those who are supposed to spread it.
Yes.
And I feel that you is one of the man them who is very important to spread these Kemetic vibes.
Oh,
yeah, definitely, man.
Yes,
brethren and sisters, this is a serious reasoning.
Yes.
Go on, as we say, You might have heard a lot of things here that so heavy down on your shoulder, yes, or no, that. But it is very important because we need a new faculty of interpretation for a lot of the understandings that was claimed by Europeans. We have to reclaim that now. We have to realize that there's a lot of things that was said to us, that the mask is now we have to move the mask and come to, as Marcus Garvey said, get to the root of the thing, not the branch. And this is all about the root. And there's a lot of things we are familiar with that if we should really get down to the nitty-gritty, it's just the periphery of the understanding. Just like we have the King James Bible, so now. A lot of the King James Bible stories is just a peripheral African tale, African mythologies that has placed in front of us to make we feel, say, as some things will happen for real and don't understand the symbolism that is important. It is not a lot of it is not historical, it is symbolic. And to understand the symbols is more important than to go through a faith passage and define it as historical, because that is really the problem. We're trying to make African mythology become historical, and then we can't prove it, and then we get ourselves in a problem, rather than understanding the symbols that is placed in front of us.
Yes.
Give thanks.